Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate you guys' support for the channel so far. We've put out a couple videos as of recently. We did a new canoe walkthrough, and we also just did a Hobie PA14 walkthrough, and we've just gotten a huge response from you guys, and we really appreciate the support. So right now, I'm going to be doing a video today kind of covering the MotorGuide aspect and the bow mount trolling motor craze that's going on right now in the kayak industry. We get a lot of questions all the time about what wire to use, what plugs do we use, what's this called, why do we have a stow and deploy system, do we have a stow and deploy system, what kind of prop is better, what battery box should I get. So today I'm going to go ahead and cover all those questions right now. So first off, I just want to give a huge shout out to you guys as our subscribers, and for those of you that have followed us on Instagram so far, we've really tried to push our social media, and again, we just appreciate your support. So kind of diving into this subject of the bow mount MotorGuide craze that's going on in the kayak industry. It has definitely taken the industry by storm. This is a 36-inch Xi3 kayak motor by MotorGuide, and it's called kayak motor because they have designed the shaft to be 36 inches, which is the perfect size shaft for a Hobie, for a new canoe, for a MotorGuide, for an Old Town, whatever boat you decide to put this motor on. The 36-inch shaft is that perfect length for your kayak. Before, they were selling about a 48-inch shaft, and you had to cut it down, and everyone was cutting it to 36. So I'm fortunate enough to be a part of the MotorGuide Pro team, and they have supported the shop ever since we kind of became a dealer for them about a year and a half ago. So it's been cool to kind of see the innovation coming from prior to the kayak motor, and now they have a specific kayak motor. It's been really cool to kind of be a part of that process. So kind of diving into the motor. The motor is a 12-volt motor. So with that, we recommend having a 12-volt 100-amp-hour lithium. That's what I tell most people. If you're a weekend angler and you fish kind of casually on the weekends, you could get away with a 50-amp-hour. But if you're a serious tournament angler, which most people who put this motor on their kayaks are kind of the more serious tournament anglers, we definitely recommend a 100-amp-hour lithium battery. The battery that we sell here at Kayak Fish Supplies are the BioEnno batteries. And you will get about an 8, 10, 12. We've kind of had a different amount of ranges of run time, but for sure, no matter what, you will get more than 8+ hours of run time. Depending on where you're at, if you're at the Delta and you're in a lot of current, you'll definitely get a full day, but you might not get 12 hours. But if you're just on a lake with no current and you're just kind of hanging out there, you'll get 12+ hours. It just depends how you're using the motor, how often you're using the GPS pinpoint. And that's another thing. This motor comes with the GPS pinpoint system, which means that you could literally sit out in 100 feet of water and sit on one spot, eat a sandwich, drop shot on fish, whatever you're doing, retie. It makes it super convenient to press an anchor button on the remote and go ahead and just sit there and do whatever you have to do in that moment, whether you're fishing or retying. It makes it extremely convenient, which is a big selling point for this motor, because if you go with a stern mount motor, you're constantly having to maneuver yourself, you're constantly having to find a place to kind of stop and do those things. This, you could do it anywhere you're at on the lake. Now, running to props. This right here is a Katana prop. They also have a machete prop, which is their three-blade prop. And I always recommend putting the Katana prop, let's just say you're at Otay down here in San Diego, or if you're at the Delta, or if you're at Clear Lake where there's just a lot of grass. Definitely the two-blade Katana prop is definitely the prop that you're going to want to go with. And if you're in that open water scenario, the machete three-blade prop seems to do a little bit better in the open water, and it's a little bit quicker, and it just seems like it's better for that scenario. So I would recommend getting both props. Kind of going into the speed of the MotorGuide. So speed varies depending on what kayak you have. And based off of some R&D and experience and hearing guys' report back to myself, the Bonafide SS127 gets anywhere from 4.3 to 4.5 miles an hour. Now if you go to a new canoe Pursuit, the Pursuit is probably one of the fastest with the bow mount. It gets about 5 to 5.3 miles an hour. Again, this is all based on hull design. It has nothing to do with like the kayak itself. It's just based on the hull design of that specific kayak. So the Pursuit is longer, a little bit, I believe it's a little bit narrow, but it's definitely longer. I'm not really into the whole physics of all of that. I just know that the Pursuit gets about 5 to 5.3 miles an hour. The Hobie PA14 gets 5 to 5.2 miles an hour. The Hobie PA12, I believe, gets 4.7 to 5 miles an hour. And the Old Town, I haven't really heard much about the Old Town, but I'm pretty sure it probably gets anywhere about 4 miles an hour. On most of the kayaks, it's about 4 to 4.3 miles an hour. So depending on what kayak you have. So that's kind of the overall speed that you're going to get with a 55-pound, 12-volt GPS pinpoint Kayak Xi3 motor on your kayak. Alright guys, so on average, the Bonafide gets about 4.5 miles an hour. 4 to 4.5 pretty much, depending on the day. Got the pulley system up here, one objective mount. Pull system down here to stow and deploy it from my seat. And just makes it super easy. Everything is controlled from the remote. No pedaling, no paddling. Makes out to be really nice and enjoyable out in the water. Now, one thing that's kind of unique to our shop that we do and we have kind of designed over the years, and you guys have seen on Brad's boat that we did the Hobie, on Wade's boat that we did the new canoe, we've designed a stow and deploy system. And the stow and deploy system basically makes it extremely easy to stow and deploy the motor from your seat. And Kerry, one of our rig masters here at OEX, he has developed a sweet little contraption to go right underneath the foot pedal, and you have two options. There's an option to either go inside the hull of your kayak and it comes out right by your seat, or on Wade's kayak that you guys saw in the new canoe, it was ran on the outside part of the kayak. And he's just designed a very intricate and a very successful stow and deploy system, which makes it really easy to pull your motor up and put your motor down when you're coming into the ramp. You're not crawling up on your knees trying to stow and deploy that motor. Also, we've kind of came up with this system right here. This is actually a live scope panoptic shaft mount, and what this does is that it swivels. So when this motor is on the pinpoint mode, it's kind of almost rotating in 360, but it doesn't go all the way. It kind of gets to a point and then it turns back. So what this does is it allows it to swing freely, so that way the cord doesn't get wrapped up in your motor. Now going to mounts. One Objective, we are a dealer for One Objective, and they have innovated literally the best mount on the market. I know Josh and James personally, and they are incredible guys, and it was really awesome when they started to come out with all these different mounts. I believe they literally have a mount. If your kayak is able to put a Xi3 on the kayak, they have a mount for it. Bonafide, New Canoe, Hobie, Old Town, whatever kayak that's out there, you guys can go on their website or you guys could call us and we could get a mount ordered for you guys. This mount, every mount that they've made is completely drillless, which makes it really nice. They've integrated the mount into the front handle system of each kayak, and it's really thick, durable plastic. They've just done an incredible job innovating these mounts. So One Objective is what we carry and what we put on every single kayak in the shop. Now getting into the wires. So there's a lot of questions on what wires to use. What we use is 8-gauge duplex marine grade wire. Duplex meaning that they're just kind of together in the same white cover. And we use 8-gauge here. Most of our runs are about 10 to 12 feet depending on the kayak that we're installing, and we've never had an issue with 8-gauge wire. I've been running 8-gauge for the last 2.5 years, never had an issue. Original wire that comes off of the motor stock is 10-gauge, and you can run 10-gauge because it's all about how long you're running for electrical current. I'm not an electrician, but these are just things that I've learned from talking to a variety of different people. And MotorGuide comes stock with a 10-gauge wire, which is a little bit lighter, but it's only running about a foot distance, so that's fine. And then when you plug into your kayak is receiving at 8 and running 10 to 12 feet to the back. And then what we do is each motor comes with about, I think, 2 to 3 feet of wire. So we cut the wire and then we use it as a pigtail for our battery, because the distance between the back plug and the battery is about a foot. And that's just how we've always ran it. If you guys have any further questions on wiring and what size wire to use, go ahead and feel free to drop comments down below. Any questions you guys have throughout this video, drop the comments down below and I'll be happy to get back with you guys. But that is the wire that we go with here at Kayak Fish Supplies. Also, one thing that we've kind of ran through some R&D is we kind of started with the original MotorGuide plugs. And again, I'm on the team MotorGuide, so I'm able to talk to them about, you know, certain issues and things that we're seeing, and they agree with us. Their plugs just really haven't been holding up for a long-term motor use. So what we've done and what they've agreed with, but they haven't made a change to their plug yet, but we use Anderson plugs, and these I believe are the PowerWorks SB51 or SB50 Anderson plugs. These plugs right here, you guys, are incredible. Actually, I gotta give a shout out to the wizard Ramel up north. He was the first one to kind of talk to me about using Anderson plugs, and then I brought the idea to the shop, and now Kerry has mastered these things himself. But they plug into each other very tight, and they click, and they almost make like this erosion resistant connection where it's constantly cleaning itself. And when it clicks together, guys, it is tight and it is not coming out. It's not getting loose, which will prevent, you know, wires burning. Any type of electrical thing on your kayak, you want it to be extremely tight, so that way you're not having any issues out there on the water. Because one thing I was having an issue with the plugs is that sometimes they would come loose, sometimes I wouldn't put it in all the way, and when I'm out there on the water moving around, I can kind of smell burning, and then it's just all bad. But Anderson plugs are definitely the way to go, and they're extremely cheap, and they're really inexpensive, and they're just great to have. You can have 20 of these things for like 10 or 15 bucks. So Anderson plugs are the way to go. We've also kind of brought in these new booty style to cover the Anderson plugs, and which makes them very, very water resistant. The wires come in through here, the plug comes out right here, and then when your plug isn't plugged in, or when your plug is plugged in, it kind of goes together like that, and it's just a really, really nice and waterproof system for the Anderson plugs. So that covers our plugs. Battery boxes, I highly recommend using any type of battery box you want to go with. We have a couple different options here at Kayak Fish Supplies, but definitely put a battery box around your kayak battery. I see a lot of guys kind of using nothing, and it's just kind of open. And I don't know, you take a little wave over the back, or if it rains, I just don't like my battery getting wet. I don't care if it's sealed or not. I want it in something protective. These things are fairly inexpensive. So every time we rig a boat, we always recommend, most of the time, our customers go with a battery box, whether it's this one or another one that has some plugs, but highly recommend using a battery box. One thing that MotorGuide has done that's really, really awesome is that this wasn't meant for a kayak, but it just happened to fall in their lap. But man, this quick release bracket right here, you guys, is awesome. You literally are able to take your motor off, put your motor on, extremely easy with just this U-bolt. The quick release bracket mounts to the one objective plate, nice and flush, nice and flat, and it's just a great way to have your motor on and a great way to take your motor off. That has definitely been a selling point for us, because you're able to remove it and not use it for the day, or able to have it on. It's super easy to take in and out with that U-bolt. One other thing I'd like to recommend to you guys is, you guys want to constantly be checking your prop. Take the nut off, make sure there's no line or grass in your prop. Sometimes we take our props off and there's like 50-pound braid wrapped in there. You just don't really know, and it could cause long-term damage to the motor in there. So you definitely want to be taking your prop nut off and checking it. I check it honestly after every trip. That's just something that I've kind of practiced into myself, but it's a good practice to get into, is constantly checking your prop and your prop shaft to make sure that it's all clean and good to go. Anyways, guys, that kind of does it for our YouTube walkthrough, kind of detailed description of everything MotorGuide. If you guys are interested in this motor, we definitely take orders all the time. We're constantly getting motors in and out of the shop. And one unique thing about Kayak Fish Supplies and OEX is that no matter where you're at in the country, you guys can go ahead and place an order. We will rig it up for you. Even if you don't have your kayak, we will get it ready for your kayak, send you everything that you need, You guys won't need to go out anywhere else. Kayak Fish Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your kayak fishing needs, and they'll ship it straight to your door. Anyways, guys, we really appreciate your guys' support. If you guys have anything else that you guys are looking to find out more information about, if you guys have an interest in another video topic, please leave video topics down below. We'd love to cover any information for you guys, and again, be your one-stop shop for all your kayak fishing needs. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys on the next one.